This is High Tea and On the Path series, providing weekly insights and inspirations from the people who move food and beverage culture. This week's High Tea guest is Matthew Kaner, Los Angeles-based sommelier, wine educator, correspondent, and consultant. Matthew is the wine correspondent for Men's Journal, which garners 12 million unique monthly views. He's also the owner of Will Travel for Wine Consulting, and literally will travel anywhere and everywhere on the globe for wine and food experiences. Matthew was named one of the Sommeliers of the Year by Food and Wine magazine, and in 2019, Wine Enthusiast named him on the 40 Under 40 Tastemakers list, among numerous other accolades. Let's hear what Matthew's most excited about and looking forward to this week.
So right now is a really interesting time when we've been faced in the restaurant world, the wine world, the hospitality business, the industries that I just mentioned. We went through a really tough time, and the people who are fighting back the hardest, who are finding new ways to get to clients, finding new ways to push boundaries. You can't just be good anymore. It's not enough. Being good is no longer a separator. Everyone's good. Everyone is inspired. Everyone has the same Google. Everyone has the same internet. We all know the answer to questions now, right? When I first opened my wine bars, Cobell was my first in 2010. Having a great wine program and having a good place to go hang out was a separator. Now it's an expectation. So watching how people push the boundaries, how they connect with people in different ways, at a time when things are not guaranteed, like, the economy's in an interesting place. We're seeing people drinking less and less. How do we combat that? Well, we got to make new memories. We got to find things that are worth remembering. We have to create experiences that people want to have again, relive. So yeah, it's the excitement for me is finding people who, like myself, know that the best times are ahead of us, not behind us, and will not allow this downtime and this weird energy to freak us out and hold us back.
So what's your advice for people who, when they hear you say, and probably agree with you, everyone's good, everyone has access to the same information, when they're thinking about how do I stand out, and they go, and they're probably going to ask you, Matthew, how are you standing out? How are you thinking about, kind of evolving and innovating your business?
Well, I've always moved against the grain. It's how I've gotten to who I am in my career. It's how I am as a human being. I'm a redhead. I fucking stand out. I'm just not normal, And because of that, I've realized you have to trust yourself and your instincts. And when you have the inclination, it's time to go left when everyone's going right. You just have to trust in that. So moving out of wine bars and out of owning places and having no guarantee that things were going to be okay, going into a consulting life, it came down to, I got a lot of advice from people saying, you should have focus. You should be focused. And I said, yeah, great. That'd be awesome if I had 1,000 jobs for that focus. But when people are coming to me with 100 different things that are 99 different literal skills that are necessary and different muscles that are being flexed, you just have to keep an open mind. So for me, what I've been able to do personally is realize that whatever expertise I have or background knowledge I have, whatever is valuable that I've been able to accrue in my career, I can't look at it one way and think it does one thing. You have to find within yourself and within what you do and what you love to do, you have to find different applications and be okay with that. It's been tough at times, trying to get outside of working in wine bars for 13 years, where I literally woke up every morning, knew where I was going, kind of knew what the day would be like. And now it's like I work from a bed in any country I'm in. I can work from a boat. I can work from an airplane. I just have to be okay with the difference and the change. But not everyone's okay with that. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's like find ways to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. I always learned early on, if I found butterflies or an uncomfortable feeling, if things were a little unsettling, let's say, that's when I know that I'm doing my best work and things are going in the right direction. If it's easy, it's probably not right.
Yeah, oftentimes with me as well, if it's easy, there's probably not growth and evolution. And it's so cliche, but it's exactly what you're saying. Life begins outside your comfort zone, and it's true. How do you look at the evolution of your business? How do you continue to layer on to all the already incredible work that you've done. But I'm sure, having been through so many different iterations, from wine bar owner to now this consultancy, and obviously being a journalist as well. But are you thinking sort of 5-10 years out? Like, how do you continue to be at the pulse of culture, and where are things going, in your opinion, in sort of food and wine?
So one of the things that I've been lucky to do from day one is I always cared about what was happening around me. I paid attention to people opening businesses, whether it be wine bars, restaurants, wine stores, wineries, breweries, distilleries, things like that. Having an apt kind of nature aptitude for the new, really, I was like that in music too. I'm a big music person. I always wanted to know the new artists and go see their first show in LA or their first show in America or whatever. Having that on the pulse feeling as a person helped me move into this kind of new application of my career. And what I'm learning is, if you're not showing someone something new, you're talking about something they might already know. And that's not bad, but I think people have less and like I said, everyone knows the information now because they all have the same Google we have. So unless you're breaking news, the likelihood is that some of the people you're reaching might already know what you're telling them. It's not a bad thing necessarily. The way that people kind of work now is like, if they can see things from 7 different angles and they get it from all the different media outlets, that's when they believe something is actually viable and real and true. But I had to find a way within, having the wine channel on Men's Journal. If I just wrote a bunch of articles about things I thought were interesting, I don't know who would read it, being honest with you. But when you're breaking news and giving topical things that are new, that's an opportunity to teach someone something or to give them a new piece of information. And we just digest it differently when that's the case. Journalism's in an interesting place. I have a lot of friends who are on the freelance side of it, and other people maybe who are like at bigger publications. And we all have gripes and we all have things that are difficult we're navigating through. But people just don't read. That's what makes that difficult. People are not reading. There's like, I get about 45 seconds of people's attention on my side, which is tough. It's hard. So the next 5 years at this point is like, I'm looking down the road to say, okay, do I take a job? Do I go open my own? I mean, I've always wanted to have a winery and have my own vineyard. I don't have the money for that yet. But I think a next phase will be to be like a general manager of a property or an ambassador of a bigger brand. I'm kind of getting to that point where I'm starting to find my way to get to that next level. And that means leaving LA, because it's not going to happen here. I'm already okay with that being my reality. I've been doing a lot of traveling the last year, thankfully, because of the journalism stuff, and finding places I feel the most comfortable. And I didn't think they were in the US, but I found a few places in the US I feel really good about. So yeah, man, it's a tough one because we're all trying to elevate and use our knowledge and trying to find ways to get creative and make new space within our career. Some people are just happy with doing the job that they do, but I've always been someone that, not that I get bored, but I just don't like it to be monotonous. And I've always changed things. Whether it was I'm going to open a new business or I'm going to maybe just change the wines that I'm selling entirely. There are ways for me to not make it monotonous in that realm. So I got very lucky. And now I'm in that new phase where like, there's no such thing as monotony right now because I'm traveling a lot. I'm learning a lot of great stories, retelling a lot of great stories. The future is looking good though. I do think that we're going to get back on track. The economy's looking a little better. I think 2 years from now, things will be a lot better. We're going to have a different president very likely, which is going to it's going to freak everyone out, but that's what that is. And we need the economy back on track. That has to happen.
Yeah, you're talking a little bit about, earlier about you have 45 seconds to capture people's attention. I do a longer form content, and I'm still pretty bullish about longer form content and people wanting to dig in. But I think you're right as well. I do believe, we lose people really quickly. But it reminds me of a recent article that you did titled, "I Know How to Save the Wine Industry." And it's really kind of talking about being present, being in the moment. There's a great quote that I can't remember the gentleman's name. You'll remind me, but he said, you drink the year, you drink the place, you're revisiting the photos from your trip, where you fell in love. Right now, nobody wants to live in the moment. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's Keith Sarlos, close friend of mine, a brother. He's family to me. We hadn't talked in a little bit, and he called me out of nowhere a couple days ago, and we just had one of those talks where it was like, it needed to happen. We had to get things out. We had to work things through, and neither of us really knew where it was going to go. But what it came down to was like, how do we save this situation? What can we actually do? And what's crazy about it is I can't control the economy. Keith can't control the economy. I can't tell people who drink more non-alcoholic that they should drink more wine and at work. But I can, on a micro level, make better memories with people that I love. And internally, we have this opportunity to get back to a place we were before COVID, where we got scared to spend time with human beings. And we can literally take back our time. We can invite friends over and cook a dinner. We can open the fucking bottle we've been saving for 10 years. Because you know what? There's another bottle of wine. Turns out. You can save the actual fucking bottle. Drink the wine. Create the memory. You have to. We hold on to this shit like it's the holy fucking grail. And what we're doing is we're literally holding ourselves back. And it's inside of each of us. We can literally speak this into existence. So Keith and I just had this like hour and a half phone call of time after time coming up with ideas we thought would help, and things that were, and he's the most inspirational person I know. If I'm ever having a bad day, or if I just need to get out of LA, I drive up to see him in Los Olivos, and you all should go see. He's the owner and farmer for Sarlos and Sons. They have a great tasting room in Los Olivos. Yeah. He now does Saturday vineyard tours, which check out his website or figure out the details on. He and I had this. I mean, we literally we know how to fix it. We literally know how to fix it. The thing is, every person has to have this. They either have to read it, they have to have it told to them. It's not going to be an outside thing that all of a sudden changes and we're like, oh, it's all better now. No, it's inside of us. It's literally for us to do. And it starts small. It does not start with changing your life entirely. It's actually small actions. It is call the friend you haven't seen in a while, cook the dish you've been thinking about cooking, go to a restaurant and tip the waitress or waiter 100%. See what happens. It's going to change their lives too. You know, there's this butterfly effect of what happens. And he kind of recalled a famous line that I'm not going to call out entirely because I forget the exact cadence of it, but he was going very Bourdain in what he was saying, like, you know, go have the dessert, go order the extra drink, have a Negroni. Yeah, whatever, you know, I forget exactly what Bourdain said, but the point is like, go out, see the thing, do the thing, eat the thing, be there for the thing. You got to be there. And when you are there and you're present, you got to leave room for magic. This is one of my biggest line I make in life. Leave room for magic. We always want to plan everything. We have to know the answer to everything. We have to have the information before we decide if it's right for us. Shut the fuck up and go sit at the fucking bar and see who sits next to you. Go by yourself. You might meet someone who becomes a lifelong friend. You might meet someone who becomes a business partner. You might meet someone who says something, you're not even talking to them, and the thing you overhear could give you the best idea you've ever had in your life. But if you just stay home and don't go out and don't make these memories, none of that happens. And that's within you. So that's where I'm at on that. And I do want to get back to you. And I don't blame you being bullish on podcasts and video. I'm speaking specifically, I get 45 seconds of people's attention on reading. They don't read. They will watch a video for an hour and a half. They will listen to a podcast for 3 hours. They will read for 1 minute, maybe.
Easy.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah. No, it is. And I love that the article that, and I'm going to put it in the show notes as well, because I want our listenership to check it out. But
thank you.
You know, the title's obviously how to say it's I know how to save the wine industry, but Matthew, as you and I both know, we're not just talking about the wine industry. We're talking about how do we save ourselves? How do we save our communities? How do we build friendships?
Yep.
How do we build community? Like, that's really what you're talking about. You know, wine is really secondary, but it's a catalyst for bringing us together. You know, it's like food and wine is the catalyst to be able to say, hey, meet me here. Or, you know what, I'm going to cook this, or I'm going to open up this bottle. But it's really just about us spending time together and being in the moment. And I so love that article spoke to me, and I just really wanted to bring it up because I think it's so important for people. We all know these things, but we need to be reminded.
It's so important to be reminded because we're all busy. We've all got to-do lists that when you cross one thing off, 5 more come at the bottom. A lot of people have families and children, and imagine I'm lucky in that, I don't want to say it like that. I am single. Lucky is not how I meant that. I am 41 years old and single, and I don't have the same responsibilities others have. So I can on a dime go do something and change what I'm up to. Other people, they've got like 5 different schedules they have to overlap together to get that Venn diagram of the middle part where they're available.
Exactly.
It's hard for people, and I get it, and I understand. But at the end of the day, like it's within us. It's literally within us. And when Keith and I had that epiphany, it was after like 2 hours of like really diving through and trudging through things. And I was originally going to do the article very differently than I did, but it ended up being like almost a giant quote of him. And I had taken notes for like hours, and I edited some stuff, and I told him, I was like, I'm going to edit you a little bit. But I left some curse words in there as it needed to be. I curse a lot. My parents don't like it, but you know what? Fuck off. Love you, mom and dad. It's sometimes the voice and what's behind the voice needs to literally be we can't always censor things. It needs to be said the way that the raw emotion. And I told Keith in the conversation I had with him, I said, I've never heard this side of you, because he was like angry, and it's understandable. We also had a political conversation within that same talk, and that political conversation is like a greater thing of where we're at as a society. We just have this like crazy empathy, and we're forgetting that we're important. Like we're putting all of our energy on everything around us. And for the USA, it's like we're helping the world, but we're not helping ourselves. And that sentiment is ultimately how we get away from the fact that like, well, no, I need to have dinner with my friends, and then I want to smile, and then I want to make it so I'm smiling again tomorrow and maybe next week and the week after that. And I want my life to be fun. And if you don't do those things, it's all getting away from us. You know, it literally starts from within.
Yeah, I think you're right. How are you prioritizing this in your life? Because I know you're traveling like crazy, man. Like there's, and again, it's a blessing, but every moment you're on a plane or you're somewhere else, you're not with your family. You're not with your friends. And again, these are quality problems, but like, how are you prioritizing this?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'm in a position right now where taking advantage of the opportunity was important. And I've said yes as much as I can. I've had to say no a lot more to opportunities, but it basically means that I'm single and I'm on the go a lot. And those are things I hope will change over time. I know they will. It's within me. I could say no to the opportunities, but it's also not entirely smart of me to say no. So I'm trying to balance what's good for my career, what's good for me. I think there's nothing better to learn a good worldview than traveling and going places maybe you haven't been, maybe you don't speak the language, maybe you don't know how to cook the food, and it's okay. Don't be scared by it. Most of them speak English in the world. It's going to be okay. You have one of the most valuable things in the world is your phone, your iPhone, and Google Translate. You can literally have a conversation with someone and not speak the same language. It's going to be okay. You will get what you need. You just have to sometimes know a little bit about the nuances of how to do that, right? And the balance is hard. It's really not a balance right now. I'm home for a little bit because I have a client who's about to open a tasting room in Santa Monica, Aja Vineyards, which I'm really excited about. So I'm going to be home all of August helping them get open. And in July, I have I'm doing small domestic things that are local, just a couple little small trips. It forced me to take a priority on myself, having a client basically need me in town. Because what'll happen now is I'll cook myself dinner 5 nights a week. I will be slower on the go. I'll be drinking a lot less. I will sleep better. I always sleep better in my own bed, just is what it is. I don't sleep well in hotels, no matter how fancy or how not fancy. It doesn't matter the price level or the thread count. Like, I just don't sleep well in another bed. So I am.
Yeah.
So the next phase is like, okay, am I willing and ready to slow the fuck down? Am I going to move to a wine country somewhere where I'm going to hopefully work at a winery or help build a winery, or I don't know what the answer is yet, and just be okay with like grow your own food, make your own food, have a goal, tend to some grapes. Having a vineyard would be the ultimate thing for me. I would love that. In the short term, there's not a lot of balance. It's hard. It's tough. It's a great question. I wish I had a better answer. I'm not in a position where I can just balance things right now.
You're in your, as the kids say, your hustle era and your building era. Again, you've been in the business for a while, but you're really, I love it. We just had Jonathan Cano on the podcast talking about say yes. This is a guy that gets out of work at 2 a.m., gets on a flight at 5:30, flies to Mumbai, eats at a 2 Michelin star restaurant, then flies to Singapore, eats at Odette, Chef Julian's restaurant, and then flies back to Washington, D.C. And again, like we talked about the toll that takes on you, but he's also, you could think about the negative, but think about the positive. Think about the experiences that he's garnered, the relationships that he's brought into his life, the moments that he's spent with people sipping a beautiful glass of wine or a cocktail. It doesn't just take away, it gives so much, to you as well. So I actually think the pace and the clip at which you're running, is it sustainable for 5 years? Probably not. But do it now, do it now, because building that dream of having your own vineyard, it will happen. It will happen. And in some of what you're doing right now is going to aid the experiences, the knowledge, the education that you're getting, the relationships you're building is ultimately going to layer in and help you, accomplish that dream.
I appreciate that. I think so. I'm working hard. I'm hoping, there's only so much that you can wait for the outside world to do for you. You literally have to do it yourself. You have to be willing to drive yourself, have that self-determination. And to the point, you mentioned Jonathan having to say yes, like the power of the word yes, I had to learn. Sometimes I said yes too often. So it's one of those things, like you do also need to know when yes is appropriate and when it's appropriate not to use the term
100%.
Yes. But it will get you into a place, you'll find yourself in a rhythm of kind of what my term is leave room for magic. When you say yes, it's more likely that the magic will come. Because if the answer is just no, and you're not out putting yourself out there, things will not happen for you. It's not going to happen. No one's just going to be waiting by to call you or email you with this great life-changing opportunity just because you exist or are at home. Like, you got to go out and see the world. You got to go be a participant in the world. Hopefully don't be a dickhead. Don't be an asshole. Be a good person. Make people smile. Make them laugh. Tell them a story. Those kind of things help. It's, and back to the point of like, how do we save the wine industry? Like, we got to have moments with people we want to relive. It's easy. It's actually easy.
Yeah. It's not that difficult. And you're right. On a micro level, if many people do it, that's where there's impact. That's where there's a real shift in culture. We don't live in a perfect world, but if this was a perfect world and you had your winery, you had your vineyards, where in the world would this be? What type of grapes would you be cultivating? And ultimately, like what wine would you want to bring to the world that really speaks to you?
Phenomenal question. I had a brand for years here in California. First made it with Keith Sarlos, the guy that the article we referenced earlier is from. And then I moved the production just up the hill. I'm from Santa Barbara originally, so I have good connections there. And so the second part of it we made in Santa Maria Valley. So I've done California. I'm not against that again, but very likely it will not be in California. So the places that are most getting my attention would be South Africa, probably doing some Chenin Blanc, Virginia, really cool stuff happening there with Cabernet Franc and Petit Manseng. Texas, there's some badass stuff happening in Texas, y'all. Texas should be on your radar. I don't care if you think you vote the same way they do. I don't care if you like their governor. I don't like their governor either. It's okay. They're having to brace for all the people leaving California and going there, and they're being nice to us. So let's be nice back. Texas is on fire right now. I'm telling you. Fredericksburg, High Plains, like there's cool shit going down there. And then aside from that, like I think all the time about Portugal. I just got back from Portugal again recently. I would love to have
Portugal,
a vineyard like in Dow or in Alentejo or the Lisboa area or Vila Verde or parts of me would also like to be in France, but that's a tough one. I don't speak the language, so that would make it even more hard. I understand, especially written, but I like in person speaking French with a French speaker, it's impossible for me. So probably not going to have that happen, but there's a couple that, like, Australia is always on my radar. I love South Australia, Basket Range, Adelaide Hills. That's a place I could live very happily. There's a lot of places it could be. I know I'm not narrowing it down, but the point is that there are places I would like to go. We'll see if I can make the money happen. I just need to make like $20 million appear somehow. So
there you go. We're gonna will that into existence for all of us
someday.
Obviously, part of my question was what type of wine would really speak to you, and I think part of that is dependent on the region in which in which you would settle. But is this do you see yourself just like when you talk to a chef and they're like, I'm really bullish about creating a fine dining establishment. I'm really bullish about creating sort of an establishment that's a neighborhood spot that people don't just come once a quarter, but come, once a week. What would the Matthew Kaner wine be?
So one of the things that I've always talked about is an authenticity to place. If a wine speaks to where it comes from and is true to where it comes from, I don't care what grape it's made from. I don't care what color it is. I don't care all the rest of it. As long as it speaks to where it comes from, for me, that's something I would aim to not only enjoy myself, but also aim to put out into the world. We get caught up a lot of times on characteristics and, certain wines are supposed to be this and supposed to be that. Not always how it works. Like, weather patterns are different. The traditions of how they use oak or don't use oak is different. There's so many different factors that go into it. And too easy is it for people to get on one side of a line, whether it be I'm on the natural wine side or not, or I'm on the unoaked Chardonnay or the oak Chardonnay. Like, I can go with this with any grape variety or any style of wine. At the end of the day, for me, though, it's, does the wine speak to where it comes from? Is it authentic to its home? And that can be so many things. As a wine expert, I've had to remind myself that the qualms I have with certain wines, or when I'm being nitpicky, other people don't even see this stuff. And we also need to remember, like, business is important. We need people to be buying and selling wine. I don't want to talk them out of buying something that they might enjoy just because I wanted something different from it, or I didn't think it was one thing, it could be another thing. Like, we could all be selling different. So I've had to also check myself. I'm done with critics. Critics can go fuck themselves. We need to be advocates and not critics. It's not bad to be critical, but we need to stop being critics. We should be advocates. This is a very important thing for me. Too many restaurants have been closed because a critic didn't like it. And you know what? That critic can go fuck themselves. They've ruined people's hard work. They've ruined people's investments. They've got people out of a job. Same thing could happen if a wine doesn't get a good score. Like, I'm sorry. Fuck that. Done. Be an advocate. We must highlight and be advocates for things. If we're not going to do that, what are we doing? Life's already too hard. Shit's hard right now. You gotta help. Be an advocate. Stop being a critic.
I love that. We need more advocates, less critics. It's okay to not like something. It's okay to,
of course,
wish something was better. But yeah, let's support each other. So much of like this podcast, we talk about community building and we talk about being in community with the industry. And I think when you're in community with the industry, you don't have to agree with what everybody's doing, but you're in support of each other.
Absolutely. Look, there's plenty of people that were either rival wine bar owners or other people that are sommeliers that I didn't like or didn't get along with, but I still wanted to send people their way because they might love them. And, one of the things I've learned, this is so funny for me, I'm, pulling back the curtain a little bit, but whenever I had a problem with someone, what I learned was I saw probably something in myself in them. And I was like insecure about something. And I was like, well, fuck, that's actually because I'm like that. And it turned out when I got past it, we all became friends, At the right moment, at the right time, in the right part of the world, with the right bottle of wine, anyone could be your friend. Anyone. And I've had to check myself on that. I think it's important to do so. So yes, be an advocate.
I love that. Matthew, how do people best connect with you?
I love Instagram. Instagram's a great way to connect with me. You can go to @Matthew J. Kaner. I also have a website, willtravelforwine.com. And you can read my daily articles at mensjournal.com/WINE. That's wine.
I love it, man. So happy that we got to have you on. Thank you for being a part of our community and excited to share a bottle of wine with you very soon.
Likewise. Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
On the Pass is hosted and produced by me, Gabriel Ornelas, and edited and mixed by Dylan Agajanian, with original music by Dylan Agajanian.